Hey everyone. Over the past few weeks I've been hinting at a project that I've been hard at work on, and well, here it is. Today I'll be teaching you how to make your very own Spirit Orb from the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Please be aware that this project involves the use of epoxy resin, which can be harmful to your overall health if used incorrectly and without personal protective equipment. A link to all the products used in today's video, including an affordable respirator and the proper gloves, will be in the description below. I also recommend taking a look at the safety video in the card above before proceeding any further. Now, let's see if we can make ourselves a Spirit Orb. To begin, make sure your work area is well ventilated and properly prepped for spills. I used a layer of newspaper and paper towels, which cleaned up easily in the end. With your workspace prepared, take part A of the clear coating resin and place it onto your candle warmer until you start to see the air bubbles rise to the top. Repeat this process for part B of the coating resin. While you're waiting for part B to warm up, you can begin to pour part A into one of your silicone measuring cups. I used roughly 4 ounces total for each half of the sphere, so that's 2 ounces of part A and 2 ounces of part B. Slowly, and I mean very slowly, pour 2 ounces of part A into a mixing cup. After that, take part B and pour 2 ounces of that into the second mixing cup you have, making sure to get the proportions just right, as this is a 1-to-1 mixture. Once you have both parts of the resin measured out, take part B and pour it into part A. As you're pouring it, make sure to take a mixing stick and scrape the walls of the cup. Make note that from this point forward, you'll have a 30-minute working window with the resin. From here, go ahead and start mixing for 5 minutes. As you go, take a small amount of acrylic paint and mix it into your resin. Be very careful with this. I strongly advise using a paintbrush, as you could end up going overboard with it if you try to put a drop in there. With your timer up, you can then move on to preemptive air bubble control. Take your mixing cup and place it onto the candle warmer for about 10 minutes or until the resin is crystal clear. Now that you're air bubble free, you can begin slowly pouring your resin into the bottom half of the mold. Let the resin sit in the mold for the remainder of the previously mentioned 30-minute work time. This will allow it to gel just enough for you to be able to place the goddess crest in the center of the sphere. At the end of your 30 minutes, take a small paintbrush and test to see if the resin is gelled properly. If so, you're good to go on to the next step. Using the remainder of the leftover resin, coat your crest before placing it into the center of the sphere. This will help cut down on air bubbles from the second pour. With that all done, you've completed the first half of the sphere. Time to clean up and start all over from the top. I opted to switch over to regular plastic cups after this, however, I do not recommend doing so as it allows for the chance of more air bubbles in your project. Nothing changes here except for the addition of the hot glue gun. Mix your resin just like before, letting the first half of the sphere harden a bit more before moving it around. Right before you go to pour the second half of the sphere, make sure to hot glue the sides of the mold or else you will spring a leak. Another thing I recommend is keeping an eye on it after you've poured for about 10 to 20 minutes while the resin gels. During this process, the resin will shrink, causing the top of the mold to create an air pocket. You'll need to periodically refill this with the leftover resin in your mixing cup. If all goes well, you'll have a fully hardened Spirit Orb in 12 hours. One last step would be the sanding process, and seeing as you'll have a nub on the front of the sphere, this is a crucial part of the project. Sadly, due to time constraints, I wasn't able to get footage of the sanding process, but I did leave a link to a video where I learned in the description. Using a Dremel or a standard old nail file, you can grind away that nub. From there, it's all elbow grease. I personally used a 220, 320, 400, 600, 1000, 1500, and 2000 grit sanding process for this sphere. Then I finished everything up by hand polishing with a product called Flitz in a microfiber cloth. Here's a quick look at the finished product. One side came out beautiful, while the other side ended up with some surface blemishes from the mold. Nothing that can't be fixed with another round of sanding. Anyhow, I think this piece came out rather nice and turned out to be a wonderful addition to my Breath of the Wild display. How did yours turn out? Send me your attempts of this project over on my Twitter, at RMFH Gaming. I would love to see them. Thank you all for joining me today for this unusual type of video. I hope you all enjoyed it. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas. RMFH out.